Roddy, let's now talk about something that you and I are pretty passionate about, in the fact of just we continue to push the envelope. We continue to question our bias on whether what we're doing actually works and whether what we do has a foundation, a fundamental, has science and has research. And we talk about osteofascial techniques now. We talk about something that is very new to the industry. It's something that people think they understand, but you and I both know what we've introduced through PTA Global, what I've done through ODL Movement. They're only really the layers that are skimming the surface, because of the fact that to go into this takes not only the knowledge and the application, but it takes the practice. Let's discuss now, mate, the power and what we're going to bring with osteofascial techniques to the immersion.
Yeah, and what we're doing in the immersion is a lot of people, like you mentioned, Ian, have gone through PTA Global and they've seen us at the mentorships. Or they may have seen other people who've been at the mentorships who are utilizing some form of osteofascial technique or process. But what we've done is we've been using this for over 7 years now. I mean, I go back again to the conversation we had at the Doubletree Inn down in San Diego, and you said, "Hey, Roddy, I've been playing with this concept," which at the time was completely new, because we were told not to foam roll on the bony areas or foam roll on the joints. And you said you've been trying it. And so we started playing with this and started working with it. And at that time, and it became extremely powerful. Now what we do is we have an understanding, much more understanding of the fascial matrix. And again, I don't want to keep using the term fascia as the buzzword and people are like, oh, you're just on. It's extremely important to understand the fascial matrix. Now we're not going to dive into the fascia like Michelle would in an IOM mentorship, and we love Michelle. Michelle obviously is one of our brothers and co-founders of PTA Global. We're not going down that road. We'll send people to them because that's what he does and that's what they do awesome. But what we're going to do is use a technique that specifically addresses the osseous fascial component of the body that can release a massive amount of energy into the system and free up the system to move the way that it's supposed to. And so what we're going to talk about is we're going to go into a very systematic approach to the technique that we use. That wasn't talked about in PTA Global, nor is it known. This is not something that's, you said it was new to the industry. It's really not even new to the industry because the industry doesn't really know about it. We're bringing this out to the industry, and we're the innovators who've been using this and playing with this for almost a decade. And so we're going to bring it out with an understanding that there is a process behind it, there is techniques to it, and there's a reason for using the different forms of techniques, and it's based upon the receptors, the fascial mechanoreceptors that we know, the 4 basic receptors that Schlepp has told us about, and it's in research. So we're not coming at this again from a shotgun. It's not something we just wing ding. It's here's the process and here's why we do this. And we're going to go to certain areas and we're going to mix this in with how do we engage this person with this technique. Who might we want to engage? Who might we not want to engage with it? And then how does it benefit the person that we're in front of relative to their situation, which we just talked about in the movement section? How are they presenting themselves? And then mix it with the osteofascial rings, the osteomyofascial rings, which is something else that we're going to get into that people don't really talk about, though it's probably understood, but most people don't realize. We're going after certain rings in the body, rings of tissue, and then the osteomyofascial components and how to address those to free up those rings to move so that the other parts of the body can then move better as well. That's what we're trying to do. Get it to communicate with itself, communicate with the brain, communicate with the fascial network, and then how to release movement and allow the person to overcome their restriction or their challenge in a specific movement or a deficiency in that certain area. So we're really coming after this with a system to show you more detail, more areas to address, why you address them, how you address them, and then the science that goes behind what this is really about and how to do it. And that's where we're going to come from, and it's going to be a much more detailed, very practical application because we want to make sure that people understand what to do when you're on the bony areas and why you want to use certain techniques and how they're going to apply or possibly affect the system differently.
Beautifully put, Roddy. And, as you've just said, based on the client's style. So we will give them certain movements certain applications, certain outcomes based on where they are today. And this is the beautiful thing about, what PTA Global started for us was this collaboration and this ability for us now to discuss and apply and continually challenge the biases of what we have. I mean, we're not saying this is wrong or right. We're saying this is another avenue now. It's another perspective that we can use to give clients that will then give them a quality of life. And in regenerative health, so important, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key there you said is that the osteofascial release is an adjunct, and it works beautiful with the fascial mobilizers. It works beautifully with myofascial release. It's not a replacement. It's not the only tool. It's another very powerful tool that when you blend them together, it's like brushing and flossing your teeth. It becomes extremely helpful and extremely powerful.
All right, I'm going to go and brush and floss. We'll be back very soon.